Welcome to Show Me Something Wrong,
where each episode one of us chooses a movie to watch that the other hasn't seen. The movie is often obscure, usually odd, and always wrong. I'm Dave.
And I'm Guy.
And today I've chosen the movie, and it is
There you go.
SUPER XUXA CONTRA Baixo Astral, aka SUPER XUXA versus The Down Mood, aka that's it.
Okay.
I said last time aka SUPER XUXA versus Satan.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
I was looking forward to that part.
That was a mistake.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like you've gotten better at saying the other titles, at least.
I hope so. This film is from Brazil, released in 1988, and it's directed by Ana Penido and David Sonnenschein, who will be appearing in this episode in the form of clips. So for this episode, I reached out to one of the directors of the film, David Sonnenschein, who very kindly accepted an interview.
Sorry, can I just jump in? Are you saying sun and shine?
Sonnenschein.
Not like sun and shine, like it's a sunny and shiny day.
Sun and shine.
Is he like a mystical character or something?
It's a German name, but this is like the Americanized pronunciation of it, I guess.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking with the context of the film we're talking about, which is
very appropriate.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is this like his director name for this mad, fantastical universe that he's created?
No. I think it's his real name.
Okay, Sun and Shine. I like it.
But yeah, he was absolutely awesome. We sat down and spoke for, I think, about an hour and a half about the film, and he really filled in a lot of gaps for me, which was fantastic. One of them being that this is not, as far as he knows, ever been known as SUPER XUXA versus Satan.
Okay.
So I think that's a Wikipedia error.
Because there was a somewhat lack of Satan in this film.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could possibly see one of the characters as a Satan type, but yeah, maybe not quite. But anyway, big thanks to David for helping us out with this episode. And yeah, throughout the episode, we're going to cut to him giving some extra info about the film as we go along. So, shall we get into the backstory?
Please
of this
do.
film?
Because I've got so many questions.
I hope I can answer them. I know there's one of your questions that you mentioned to me before recording that I definitely can answer.
Great.
But first, let's get into David's backstory himself. So because of his German last name, I was expecting to speak to a German man that had lived in Brazil, but he is an American, but he did live in Brazil for a time. So yes, he's the director of this, but he's perhaps best known as a sound designer in his career. So he's taught in dozens of countries, different universities. He's also written a book about sound design for film and interactive games that is actually like a standard text used in film schools as well. He's been an audiovisual creator his whole life. He started out as a musician when he was 8 years old and was in orchestras playing classical clarinet and was basically on his way to a professional career playing in orchestras if he had wanted to do that. And when he went to university, he ended up getting a bachelor in neuroscience.
Well, that's very different.
And music.
And what?
Yeah. Which actually connects into the work he does now, which relates to music and audio for brain health. So for the last 8 years, he's been part of an educational program called Sing and Speak for Kids, which helps kids with learning disabilities. So it does kind of feed back to what he studied in university. But let's go back to when he graduated. So after graduating from neuroscience and music, this is where he got his first professional job making a film. So he was hired by the university to make a film.
So still quite young.
Yeah, it must have been very, very young, fresh out of university. So it was a cell animation that he made, 15 minutes long, using very early computer-generated imagery. And then after creating this is where it gets crazy. So after creating this short film, he got invited to be a cinematographer for an anthropologist who was going to Bali to study Bali mask making and Bali dance.
Right. What was this person doing, like a documentary on these? Okay.
And he ended up, so he went to Bali, but he ended up staying there for a year where he studied Balinese mask carving.
Right.
And then that is a skill that he's actually brought into his film work after that as well.
Wow.
He's a man of many trades,
Yeah.
for sure.
Sounds like he's traveled a lot.
Yeah. So then he brought this mask making skill to his filmmaking, and he made a short film based on Little Red Riding Hood, where he carved this like incredible looking mask for it, and used like time lapse photography on top of that with the mask. And he showed me like a still from this short film, and it looks awesome. I would love to see it. So after this, he went back to school with the goal to get into feature filmmaking. Right. So he went to film school, basically. So he spent 2.5 years there, worked on about 20 films, got all of his technical skills in 16mm, Super 8, 35.
So sorry, just to jump in. So he worked on as a cinematographer on this mask making documentary before he had any actual technical knowledge on how to operate the camera.
I think so, yeah. Which is also kind of surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this time when he was at film school, he also worked on sound quite a lot. That was like a big focus of his. And he actually won Best Sound for a student film at the Academy Awards, which I didn't even know was a category.
This is raising more questions for me about the film.
But yes, so while he was making all these films, all these shots, working on sound, he met Anna Penido, who was a student at UCLA, and that is the other director of Super XUXA.
So this is a dual effort.
It is, yeah. Anna Penido is from Brazil with an American mother, and she was studying in the US. And they met, and he started working on her films, and ultimately they fell in love.
Oh.
And got married.
Wow.
So this is a film by a married couple, which I had no clue about until talking to David. So I was really glad I spoke to him just to find out that point.
Did they fall in love whilst working on this movie?
Not on Super XUXA, when they met in like film school times, and he was working on her films and stuff. So they got married before making Super XUXA. And just to clarify as well, they are no longer married. They are divorced. Okay. But at the time of making this, they were a married couple. So they had met in their sort of film school days, got married. They went to Brazil together and started working on films. So while in Brazil, they made a short film, which was a documentary about the Copacabana beach New Year's party thing. Do you know about that? It's like a big, massive New Year's kind of event. And on this production, they met the partners that they would ultimately make Super XUXA with. Right. So these people that they met, that they started working with, were involved in advertising and not films. But they sort of came together to work on stuff. And they formed a company with these partners called Dream Vision, which is the company that made Super XUXA. And this is where they start to get to work on this film, Super XUXA CONTRA Baixo Astral.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like he had more experience in working in factual things than fiction.
Yeah, I guess up until this point. But he'd also keep in mind he had made a lot of short films in film school. He'd made the Little Red Riding Hood film, worked on his wife's stuff as well. So, but you're right. This is his first feature film.
So he really dived into the deep end in the fantasy, right?
Big time. Yeah. Yeah, so from the time of deciding that they were going to make this, from making the deal to make it, it was like a 2-year process, which is pretty fast. Yeah. And yeah, from the beginning, this was meant to be a XUXA project. And don't worry, we'll get into that soon. But the whole film was written around her. The whole concept is based around her. I'll tell you who she is.
Please do.
Because that's the most exciting thing. But just a quick tangent to talk about the Brazilian film industry at this time. So yeah, David and I spoke a bit about what the state of the industry was in the 80s.
There were kind of two genres of films that were being made. One was very commercial and it was using TV stars. Almost everybody uses TV stars. TV stars get paid a lot more, get seen a lot more. At that period in Brazil, they were the big, like Hollywood stars would be on the TV novellas and other shows. And the movies were really kind of second nature. There was a small portion of the screens were filled up with Brazilian films. And the rest were all international, mostly American. It was only surviving because of government stimulus. There were a few that survived. The commercial ones, like the one we made, was much more tied into a huge marketing scheme and big talent, and big meaning well-known talent that would draw the audience. The others, some excellent films, but very little revenue. I like a lot of Brazilian films, but commercially, they didn't generally go very far, and a few of them went international. So that was the state, and we got our funding from government stimulus that was basically tax write-offs for companies, and we did a ton of product placement. As you probably noticed, there's international companies like Coca-Cola and Colgate toothpaste. There were a few big ones like Shell gasoline station. There were a few that were really big international ones, and others that were just local product. We had probably, 10 or 15 product placements going. And that was a big part of our funding. Because XUXA could draw that and make a deal.
I was going to ask about the product placement because there are some very garish-looking shots. Like, I'm not going to say what, but I was like, hang on, that's got to be like a paid endorsement or something.
But yeah, I also thought it was interesting what he said about TV as like sort of the primary thing in Brazil. And to me, that kind of feels like what the Japanese film industry is right now,
right?
Where a lot of the movies that come out in Japan have like TV tie-ins and are basically just there to promote the TV show.
Right.
Anyway, back to Brazil. So the other thing that he mentioned there, so the reason they could get this money from advertisers is because of its star, XUXA.
Okay.
So you asked me, because you were like, I've got a lot of questions about this film before we started recording. And you're like, main thing, like, is XUXA, is she famous?
Yeah.
Like, I think you asked me, like, and yes, the answer is, oh, yes.
Really?
Oh, yes.
And her name is XUXA. That's her real name or her performance.
Her name as a performer is XUXA.
And in this movie, she performs as XUXA.
XUXA.
Right.
She is not just famous. She is fucking hugely famous.
Is this like in Brazil or worldwide?
Not worldwide. In Brazil and Argentina and places like that. So her real name is not XUXA. She was born Maria da Graça Menegal.
Okay.
And XUXA became a sort of stage name. So she is a model, a presenter, an actress, a singer, a social activist, and she's most famous for working in children's entertainment. And she is a massive star, especially in Brazil and Argentina. So she has gold and platinum records.
What?
Producing some of the biggest Brazilian hits of the 80s and 90s.
Really?
She's hosted children's TV shows, is still active on TV now. She has the highest net worth of any Brazilian female entertainer with 400 million US to her name. She dated Pelé, the footballer.
Don't know this.
What? You don't know who fucking Pelé is?
I don't know anything about football.
Pelé's probably the most famous footballer of all time.
Never heard of him.
From Brazil. But yeah, she dated him like early in her career. Oh, do you know Michael Jackson?
Oh, well, I know that someone starts singing him in this movie.
Yes, well, we'll come to that soon, actually. So she was courted by Michael Jackson. And he actually, through one of his people, reportedly asked her to be the person to bear his children.
What? What's going on? How have I never heard of her up until this point? That's crazy.
Just this year, a documentary came out about her. Unfortunately, I could not watch it with subtitles. But she is huge. Okay. And her nickname, you're going to love this. Oh, her nickname is the Queen of the Little Ones.
Is that the little ones being children?
Yes.
Right, okay.
So, I'll let David tell you more about her.
Okay.
They would call it Rainha dos Baixinhos, meaning the Queen of the Little Ones. And she was as big a TV star as anybody had ever been for kids in Brazil. She was, like Fred Rogers, Captain Kangaroo, and also Michael Jackson. And she really, really loved Michael Jackson, and did a lot of her costumes were kind of around Michael Jackson's look at the time, and she adored Michael Jackson. So she had this combination of being like a pop star, a TV personality like Oprah for little kids. And because she'd have stars on and she'd talk to people. And the one thing that I think that she and Oprah might have in common is they're extremely authentic. What you see is what you get. Xuxa was not playing a role. She was being Xuxa. And when you're with Xuxa and the camera's not on her, whatever we're doing, whether it's making a film or being in her home, or she's just always that Xuxa. And in fact, we wrote the script for her, but it wasn't a character. It was super Xuxa. It was Xuxa being super. She was a hard worker. She, behind the scenes, she was a perfectionist, and she showed the joy in what she was doing. And she could take direction as well. She was not like a prima donna that, well, I know better than everybody else, so I'm going to do it my way. No.
I love that description that he has of her being Oprah for little kids. Is just great.
You know what? Like, I had a feeling because of the way she's presented on screen. She kind of, we should probably, I don't know if you wanted to mention this later or not, but this is essentially a musical, right? So this is a musical for kids, kind of. And she's constantly like singing to the camera, right?
Yeah,
so I was thinking, is she some kind of like almost like Britney Spears type person of Brazil? She's been filmed in this way that it always feels like we're watching a music video. Connected by a bunch of mad scenes.
Yeah,
and mad music videos as well. But I was very curious about that. That makes sense, but then it also raises more questions.
Yeah, just know that she is fucking huge.
Okay. Have you heard her music outside of this?
Yeah.
Is it similar to the...
Pretty similar, yeah.
Oh, wow. And that got...
and it's huge stuff. Yeah. I mean, this is her music. Some of her biggest hits are in this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to talk just a little bit before we get into it about Anna and David directing this on set, because it is quite an interesting concept, right? To be a married couple making a film together in your first ever feature film.
Yeah.
So our skill sets were very different, and still are. She's very different than I am. We're both very, very creative, and we like to tell stories. But the way we do that is very different. She's much more a writer and loves working directly with actors. And she's been able to do more than that, but that's her core talent, I would say. And I'm a good writer, but not so much with dialogue. I'm good with story structure and creating visuals in the script, visuals and sounds, because that's my forte, as I was mentioning. So we divided our work. At the beginning, we wrote the treatment together, and I am credited on the film as the story. And then she wrote with another Brazilian screenwriter who had quite a bit produced by then to do the script. So I didn't write the script, partly because I couldn't write Portuguese dialogue. In any case, when the script was written, I certainly infused it with visuals and sounds that were going to be done on set and in post-production. And then that's how we divided it, mostly in the pre-production and post-production. I did pretty much all the technical stuff, and she did all the dialogue acting kind of thing. So in a very general way, specifically, I worked the camera, lighting, sound, production design. We both worked in working with the art director. We both gave input on that, and I did most of the post-production. I would say I was the post-production supervisor. I did, I oversaw that whole thing, and of course, Anna would look at the cut scenes and give her opinion. But I was much more hands-on with that, and I did some of the sound work myself, some of the Foley. I played an instrument on one of the songs, and I was there I didn't get a credit as a music person, but I was very much directing the composers and performers. Anna, on the other hand, wrote some of the lyrics, so she's credited as one of the composers.
So there you have it. That sets the stage for Super XUXA. You have a gigantic megastar in the lead, an entire film based around her, and a married couple directing their first ever feature film with this gigantic star. Absolutely wild film. And as you said, it's a film for kids. It's the first film we've ever covered for kids.
Yeah.
Maybe the last? I don't know. You've got a few up your sleeve. I also just wanted to mention, like, the first time that I watched this.
Oh yeah, I'm curious how you came across this film.
Yeah, so I had it recommended to me by a friend, and I did not know what it was going into it. I didn't know who XUXA was, and I watched it in kind of peak COVID, like, lockdowny sort of times. I watched it, like, with a friend in Australia while he was, like, on Skype.
Oh, okay.
So I watched it together. But I was, like, really sick.
Did you have COVID?
I don't think I had COVID, but I was very unwell the first time I watched it. And I literally... So I had a fever, and I felt like I was entering some kind of fever dream when I was watching it. Yeah. And then watching it again for this episode... I kind of felt the same. I still felt like I was in a fever dream.
This is a fever dream movie.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a nightmare for kids.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, shall we get into it?
Yes.
Okay, so we start with some music. We've got a big Super XUXA title that comes up onto the screen. And we get kind of a montage over these opening titles, like flashes of the story that we're going to see.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of slow motion, a lot of flashes of the villains that we're going to meet soon, and we're seeing shots of graffiti getting sprayed on the walls. Names are coming up on screen as this is happening, but there's one name missing from these credits.
Is there?
And this is quite a shocking story, so sorry to derail things almost immediately in the title sequence, but David is credited as a co-writer, but he does not have director's credit on this film, but he is the co-director. And this is the most distressing story that I feel so bad for him that this happened.
Right.
So I'll let him tell the story.
Because to direct the film, I had to be in the union. And to be in the union, I had to be a permanent resident. So I could do that at any time. So I decided to do that. And I traveled to Argentina at Iguazu Falls and just crossed over the border, did my paperwork, and I'd done that, I don't know, maybe a year before. I don't even remember. It was 6 months to a year before. It was, and then I joined the union. I was part of that whole thing. So then a week before we were releasing the film, this is after at least 6 months of okay, go. Now we're gonna. I mean, it was a short time period for everything that had to happen. But in any case, 1 week before the national release, one of the largest releases of the year for Brazil, it was like 300 prints, which is a lot for Brazil, and with a huge promotional campaign, and TV Globo was behind it, all that. We got a legal warning that I was not qualified because I didn't have all the paperwork to direct a Brazilian film, and that was necessary to get it registered and into the film theaters. It needed to be a Brazilian film because we were taking advantage of local production stimulus as well. What happened was this came in, and we contacted the union, which had all my paperwork saying I'm legal, I'm there. I'd already done that. And there was one person who had access to that who was out of town and wasn't going to come back until after the release date. So, there's my whole emotional story around that. Of course, it's my first feature film. I worked my butt off for it, and it's a career that I'm initiating. And the decision was made by the corporation, by the partners, and by the president of the company, because I wasn't president of the company. I had a minority share, that we'd just take my name off, and that'd be that, no problem. Well, I had my own reaction to that, and it was, pretty strong emotional upset. But there wasn't, I think, anything I could do about it. And so it was released in many forms in terms of marketing. It was out in the newspapers. There were posters made. There were trailers. There was radio and TV announcements. I mean, it was all over the place. So some of the artwork had been done with my name on it. But the film itself, because it was going to be shown in the theaters, had to be removed. My name could not appear on the film because that's what officially is, would take it down if I was illegal. A couple days after the film was released, the guy from the union came back and he looked over everything. No problem. He's fine.
That's awful.
Yeah.
That's awful.
It's horrendous.
So is his wife, the sole director?
She's the sole credited director,
right, yeah.
but it is 100%
right.
a team effort. Yeah, that's the two of them directed.
Can you imagine going through all that effort?
Oh, yeah. So he was really, he had that kind of a sort of bittersweet thing with this film, I think, where obviously he's happy that he got to make a feature film with Xuxa, but he's not credited for his work, which is nuts.
That's a shame.
Anyway, back to the film. So we're only in the opening titles. So then we get to see Xuxa for the first time riding on a motorbike.
Oh, Christ. And handing out paintbrushes? Throwing paintbrushes to kids?
Yeah. And who is riding in the bike with her?
There's so much information in this opening shot. So like you said, we've got these kids spray painting. It's kind of a bit dark and scary, opening. And then bright rainbow. She's on a bike. Nice happy music playing, throwing paintbrushes. And in the basket, there's a puppet.
There's like a say dog and
it's a puppet of a dog. Like a very like a teddy bear. It's not supposed to look like a real dog. It just looks like a kid's toy, but is kind of accepted as a real dog in this movie. So there's no acknowledgement. This is not a real dog. Yeah, this is a puppet.
When I first saw this, I found that so full on. Mm-hmm. Like when it cuts that puppet, I'm like, whoa, this is just getting into things straight away. We're not in the fantasy world. This is the real world.
That was a lot to take in the opening scene.
Did you catch the dog's name?
It's really similar, isn't it?
Yes.
So I watched this movie. I watched this twice, and for the first time, I was so confused because I didn't know who was who. The whole time I thought we were talking about the dog, we were actually talking about Xuxa. Yeah. It's like Xuxa and Shushu or something, right?
Yeah, so you've got Xuxa, who's the star of the film. And her dog is Shusho. Shusho.
It's very close, isn't it?
And then there's another character as well with almost the same kind of name as well. We'll get to that later. I've got a while before that one. But yes, her dog Shusho, a puppet dog, riding along with her in the bike. And how would you describe Xuxa?
Which one's that? Is that the girl?
The main actress, yeah.
Like I said, a kind of like a Britney Spears-esque, from the early era, very innocent, cute, like blonde, happy-go-lucky, fun-loving person.
That's it, yeah.
And Queen of the Children.
Queen of the Children
because she hands them out paintbrushes.
Yes.
And they paint the happiness everywhere.
Immediately proves that she's the Queen of the Children in this opening scene. Oh. By the way, a little side note about this scene. I can't tell you which kid it is, but this film, and this honestly might not mean anything to you, but for me, this is mind-blowing. One of the kids in this is Jordana Brewster from the Fast and the Furious franchise. This is her acting debut.
Wait, who?
But, if you saw her, you might be like, oh yeah, that lady.
All right, tell me her name one more time.
Jordana Brewster.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I've watched it a few times and I can't pinpoint which kid it is. But yeah, when she was a child, this was like her acting debut.
I think the first time I saw her in a film was in, I think it's The Faculty.
Oh, is she in that?
Yeah, she was the main character in that. And I remember seeing that when I was like 15 or something, and having such a massive crush on her.
Right.
She's a babe.
Sure.
No, I did not see her in this.
No, and neither did I. Like, I watched it a few times trying to find her, but I'm not sure. Like, she must be really young in this. Like, because she's about the same age as us, I would say. So, like, she must be, like, a little kid in this.
She's 43 now.
Okay, so, like, a little bit older than me. Okay, so, yes, as you say, Xuxa has thrown all these paintbrushes to these kids. They're popping out paint cans, and they're, like, splashing paint around. The dog is getting involved. Xuxa is like, hell yeah, here we go.
That's the point. By the way, the dog can talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the dog can talk and paint, and is just involved in this. We also meet another important character in this scene. We meet Rafa.
Oh, the kid's trying to... Well,
yes.
Not someone pretending to ride a bike.
Yeah, so Rafa played by Jonas Torres.
Okay.
He's a little punk kid in a jeans jacket, so that's how you know he's bad. Denim jacket.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not bad. He's offering another kid a biscuit. That might be Jordana Brewster, actually, the kid that he's offering a biscuit to.
I'd offer her a biscuit.
Oh, no. Yes, as they're painting, the song kicks in, and the lyrics, or at least in the subtitles, are, I will paint one rainbow of energy.
Yes.
And yeah, so that as this song is playing, they're all painting the walls. As you said as well, Rafa, the punk kid, he's like watching sort of nervously from the side, and he's kind of liking it, but he doesn't quite get involved. There's a guy on a bike just doing mad tricks.
Oh, yeah.
While the painting's happening. There's lots of Coke advertisements everywhere. And
it does look like a commercial.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
It's like kind of like a commercial and kind of like a music video as well, as you said before.
Everyone's having fun with no context involved. Everyone's just having like the time of their lives painting things.
Yeah. And yeah, this song that's playing here is called Rainbow, and this became a huge hit.
Wow.
This is a big song.
In fact, it was a gold record. It hit over 100,000 sales in Brazil. That's a huge amount. Yeah, and some of the songs were played a lot on the radio and have become almost anthems. You know, I mean, people, now you were asking later on about the fans. Some of them have been coming. There was a 30-year anniversary in 88. It was 88, so 2018 was a 30-year anniversary, and a bunch of fans put together this whole celebration. And they were saying that some of those songs stuck with them their whole lives. So it was really kind of cool to know that whatever part I played, whatever credit I got, it had something to do with me putting that out there, and it feels really nice that it's had this impact. I'd say the big one was Arcoiris, which is rainbow, basically. It's the kind of the opening song, and it's also the song that you hear it and the credits rolling. So that's the big one. That was the kind of the one that everybody remembers. And I pretty much like all the songs. They're so much fun. They were all done by the same two guys, the composers that were very familiar with Xuxa's music. They'd done almost everything she'd done up to then. So Michael Sullivan and Paulo Masadas, that was their thing, and she liked them, so we were there to please her as much as the audience.
Okay, so back to the scene. Rafa gets onto Xuxa's bike, not trying to steal it, but just
having a fun time.
Yeah, just having a fun time, just revving it. And then someone ridiculous enters the scene.
Yeah, it's like this. They're like they're reporters, right? Like coming to document all the happiness that's happening with the rainbows and everything. But they see the kid on the bike and think he's trying to steal it. And I think we hear off camera, and then we see the reporter who has the most ridiculous hair I've ever seen.
The way I would describe her, she looks like a John Waters character mixed with Marge Simpson.
That's a very good description. Yes.
It's kind of like that sort of 60s beehive sort of thing going on.
But it's like straight vertical for days. Yeah. It's insane hair. And she's a I don't want to be mean to the person, it's her character, but she's a weird character.
Yeah.
Like, and a funny looking character. But it's like, what was the purpose of her being that odd in this movie?
It is quite,
because she's not portraying the villain.
No. And you're right. She like enters the scene and you're like, oh, this is going to be a main character.
Yeah.
Because she's outrageously dressed and she gives off villain vibes, but she's kind of irrelevant. We don't.
She is. She's
that's it.
completely
right?
irrelevant.
It's just this scene.
But the only relevance it brings is connecting it to the following scene. But there's no point of her getting angry at the kid, really, is there?
No,
And
no
her
point.
being that strange looking.
No, but it's a great detail, like many of the weird details in this film.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, her camera guy that's with her, he gets his foot stuck in a sewer drain as they're like panicking about the kid, and his sunglasses fall down into the drain. Then we cut down into the underground. And as this is happening, as the glasses are falling down, we're getting flashes of like violence and like just horrible shit, like TV reports, just like flashes of all this sort of stuff. And then we meet our very disgusting villains of the film. So first we see the sidekicks. So we've got Mosagao, who's sort of looks like a goblin.
Yeah.
I'd say he's got like a pointy nose, pointy ears. And so Mosagao and Chichika, who's kind of like a fat
man with a snout. Pretty grim. Well, he is.
It's a really apt description. Oh god, and they're like just immediately absurd. They kind of reminded me of like Power Rangers villains. You know, there's like two villains.
Oh yeah,
that hang out with the witch in Power Rangers.
Sure,
they're kind of like they've got that vibe.
Yeah,
they're actually almost exactly like those characters, even like visually. Like one's a fat piggy one, and one's like a goblin-y kind of man.
Sure,
but yeah, they're grabbing at the glasses. They're trying to eat them.
They're hungry.
Yeah, they're always hungry. These guys.
What's it called? The down? Is it called?
In Down Mood.
Down the place is called Down Mood.
Now here's where it gets a little complicated.
Oh, even more so.
Yeah, so I'll have to explain the title of this film. So here we meet the main villain who grabs the sunglasses off, he puts them on, and we meet him. So this character's name is Baixo Astral.
Okay.
So the movie's called SUPER XUXA versus Baixo Astral, essentially.
Right.
But what's complicated is the character's name, the main villain, his name is Baixo Astral, but that also means down mood. And the world is also kind of called Baixo Astral.
Right.
So it's a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
But essentially, Baixo Astral means like bad vibes or like, just bad things in the world.
The title of the film is Super XUXA contra Baixo Astral. And Baixo Astral it's the bad guys, the bad vibes, the lower emotions, the greed, the anger, the revenge, the egotism, narcissism, all of those things.
This villain, Baixo Astral, he's played by Guilherme Caram, who is a pretty prolific actor, and he sadly passed away in 2016. But I really love his performance.
Oh, he was a great villain.
Yeah, he's
great villain.
Awesome. How would you? He's quite hard to describe, though.
No.
You got it?
Yeah. In my notes, I was like, right, how am I going to describe this down mood and these group of people? And for me, they are essentially the band Rammstein.
Yeah, that's real. Like, he looks like a Rammstein member.
I put Rammstein with a dash of Tetsuo 2.
That's perfect, yeah. Right. He's got, like, kind of that silver face.
Yeah.
The contact lenses.
Very industrial. He's got some big, like, armor-type steel helmet thing on, which is insane proportions.
Yeah. And he kind of wears, like, a helmet that looks like kind of like a bomb as well.
Yeah,
like an atomic bomb. But yeah, so these are our villains. So I'll just, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to call him Baixo, because I don't want to say his full name every time.
I just refer to him as Rammstein throughout my notes.
So we've got Baixo, Mosagao, and Chichika, and they're watching TV while Baixo is like lamenting about wanting to destroy the world. The news is talking about strikes, murders, kidnappings,
I thought this was
terrorists.
interesting. Yeah, because it's a kids movie, right?
Yeah.
And we are seeing all these like flash newses of like, you know, war and terrorism, and I was like, that's quite kind of full on. It's pretty heavy for a kids show.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk about that a bit later on as well. But there are themes in this film that are very adult. And this is sort of the beginning of it and what makes it quite interesting, I think. And the TV reporter as well is absurd. Like, he's loving it. He's like, this is great. And he pulls out his teeth at one point, and it's just madness. It's really mad.
But like that, so what? He's basically the boss, the evil boss dude.
Baixo.
He's constantly broadcasting or showing all these horrendous clips from around the world to keep the mood in this area down, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the confrontation between him and Shusha come into play, right? Because she's trying to spread joy and he's trying to spread bad vibes.
And that's exactly it. So, like, when the TV's on, it cuts back to that ridiculous reporter that we saw earlier, the Marge Simpson lady. Yeah, she's talking to Shusha, who's telling us exactly that. She's like, I want to end poverty, end violence. I want to make the world a beautiful place. And as David said before as well, like, this is Shusha. This is her real personality.
Oh, really?
She's a big environmentalist, like, wants to, make the world a magical place, sort of thing.
Perfectly casting then.
Yeah. And as you said as well, Baixo is not pleased with this. He wants the opposite. He wants to destroy the world. He wants war and everyone to feel like shit. But then watching the TV, he sees Shusha hugging onto her puppet dog, Shusho, and he decides this is her weakness. This is how he's going to get her. But yeah, so then we cut to not Shusha, Shusho, the dog, at home watching TV, and he's like watching himself painting.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm so creative.
I was kind of confused at this point because there's also a Barbie doll in this scene, right?
It's kind of like a Shusha doll, right? I thought it was meant to be Shusha.
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah.
Maybe.
I never, because I've watched this movie twice now, and I still haven't figured out, is this Barbie doll or Shusha doll alive and talking, or is that the dog talking?
Well, the dog's talking in this scene, but there are parts where that doll becomes animated as well. But it never speaks, I don't think. But at one point, it like closes its eyes when something bad's happening.
It kind of freaks me out. And yeah, like you said, Shusho, the dog, is watching himself. And he kind of sees a premonition or something of the down mood people coming.
I really love this. Is like this recurring image that happens in this film where as people start to get down, because he's like, oh, like, where's Shusha? He's like getting all like upset about her not being there. And then we see, it's kind of like a POV of Baixo and like his clawed hands like coming out to get the dog.
Yeah.
And that's like an image we see like a few times in this film. Right before the hands grab the dog, Shusha comes in and sort of interrupts the bad vibes in the room.
And he disappears. But then after that, like, Shusha becomes like, he got a bit of an attitude on him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's all jealous and upset and refusing to kiss Shusha.
Yeah. So did he change attitude because he got some bad vibes from the Rammstein people?
I guess he was influenced by Rammstein
Who
to
isn't?
feel down. So Shusha comes in, and as she turns her back on him, the sidekicks, the Rammstein sidekicks, come in and they kidnap her dog and steal the doll as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which the big lad, Chichika, keeps a hold on that for the rest of the film, which is quite creepy.
A bit disturbing.
Yeah, very disturbing. And yeah, Shusha turns around, sees that he's gone, and sees a message on the TV saying that the dog has been kidnapped and that she has to come and get him. And I loved her reaction to it when she sees the message. She's like,
"Oh no!"
Was she looking directly at the camera at this point as well?
I can't remember if she's right
lot
at
of
the
that.
camera. So Mosagawa and Chichika, they deliver Shusho the dog to Baixo, and despite their success, like, they did exactly what he wanted, but Baisho's really pissed off about just their incompetence, I guess. And he says he wants a new apprentice, and he starts to like stomping around the room. There's like a lit up world map underneath him. I really love that image. He's like stomping on this world map, and he goes to the TV and starts looking for a replacement. So we see like a mad scientist.
Oh, yeah.
First, he's like wanting to blow up the world, and he's like, nah, this guy is this guy's an idiot. And then we see like a dodgy, like corrupt politician who's getting like booed by a crowd. He's like, this guy's a dumbass. I don't want him. But this again is like, as you said, the kind of adult stuff in this. I feel like we've got these layers. It's a kid's film, but we do have these layers that are like kind of like a commentary, like social commentary, political commentary, very much like connected to Brazil at the time as well. A lot of this came from Xuxa's opinions about environmentalism and the state of the world, but it was also connected to what Brazil was like at the time.
Right.
We put it in the context of Xuxa as her personality and linked to all of the subjects in the story. She has always been an environmentalist, someone who believes in justice, someone who's very spiritual, and all of those principles were and are reflected in who Xuxa is. So we were not trying to push something that was like fake. And that's part of what makes it universally, I think, resonating, because they're not only archetypal, they're also who Xuxa is. And who Brazil is with bureaucracy and trash. And I did documentaries about environment in Brazil. It's very, very difficult subject matter and impactful on everybody's lives, as is discrimination, as is all kind, bureaucracy, everything. So those were why we brought those themes of bureaucracy and trash, being the henchman for the big bad guy, who's kind of like the one who commands everything with industrial military complex and walking on top of the world's map. All of those things were very, very thought out. And all the sequences that we did for television, showing what he was doing through the TV, because TV, this is before internet, remember. So TV was it, and still is to a degree, but people weren't glued to their cell phones. There were no cell phones. That was it. I don't remember people really being upset by all of those things, because it was very familiar. It wasn't like we were, revealing something that nobody knew. It was a political satire and social satire.
I was surprised. I thought there would be a pushback from the government about how harsh this film can be about Brazil. But according to David, no pushback.
Nothing.
Yeah, they were allowed to go ahead.
Interesting. Yeah, it's one of those films, like, and not just limited to this film. When you watch children's films, but that also have some kind of adult humor or some undertones in there, which they go completely over your head when you watch it as a kid. And then you come back later on, you're like, wow, they went there, and you only realize it when you're an adult. And this is full of those kind of things. I feel like the majority of kids watching this would have no idea what quite a lot of this film means or what they're really talking about. But perhaps if they were watching with their parents as well, the parents would get it. And that's also one of those things, when you have those films that both children and adults can enjoy, I think this would be quite a good example of that.
Definitely. So while watching TV and searching for his new sidekick, he comes across a video of Rafa, the denim jacket-wearing punk kid from before, who's bullying a kind of nerdy kid. And Baixo's just like, yeah, this is my guy.
You know what? I didn't get that at all. Like, I completely overlooked why he ended up kidnapping that Rafa kid.
Yeah. That would have been quite confusing.
I was just like, okay, now he's in the down mood.
I feel like he sees the potential in this kid to become a great sidekick.
Yeah.
And he tells Mursegawa and Chichika to go get Rafa. And then he just plays a few cruel games with the dog. He's like holding a cookie towards him and then taking it away. But then he moves on to his next strategy for Xuxa, which is to scare her.
Oh.
So
is this where now Xuxa is in her room thinking about how she's going to get the dog back?
Yes.
This startles me quite a lot.
Yes. It is quite a shocking moment.
But so she's in her room and she's like, oh, my Xuxa, how am I going to get my Xuxa back? And all of a sudden, behind her, the sofa starts moving. like move, and then it starts talking to her and comforting her, and she goes to sleep on this sofa, and the sofa has its like, you know, the sofa arms that wraps around her and you know, comforts her essentially. But it's pretty terrifying. I wasn't expecting the sofa to start moving and talking, and
it's genuinely quite frightening because it comes out of nowhere, right? And it's very like a very handsy sofa as well. So it's a bit full on. And the couch is also, or the sofa is also saying very tripped out sort of stuff as well. So the sofa is like, some things we can't find out while we're awake. That'd be another good t-shirt for us to get made.
And then does she have a dream of the dog? After she goes to sleep and dreams of Shusha?
Yeah, and like the sofa is just rambling about dreams and going to the bottom of her mind, and Shusha's singing a song about dreams as the sofa's hugging her. Yeah, that's right. She's like dreaming of like hugging Shusha, right? Shusho. I've got these names. In the middle of the stream, we then cut to Rafa, the punk kid, and he's spray painting and ranting about being expelled.
Oh, yeah. I've been expelled twice now in the last month or something.
And then he finds Shusha's bike again.
Oh.
And starts getting back on it again, playing around. And Mosagao and Chichika approach him out of nowhere and accuse him of trying to steal it. So then back to Shusha, and she hears the sound of her bike getting stolen. That sort of wakes her up. And then she looks into the TV, touches the screen. She's sort of like seeing herself in the screen. Not a reflection, but like an actual video of herself, basically. And some hands appear behind her, right? Like the Baixo hands. And then she's pulled into the TV, like sucked into the TV.
It's a really cool effect.
Yeah, it's
really
awesome.
enjoyed this.
For me, from this point, it becomes quite clear what the biggest influence on this film is. And David did confirm. Did you feel like there was a film that in particular had a big influence on this, just from watching it?
There were certain scenes that were extremely labyrinth-esque.
Right.
Like extremely. It's not. We haven't got to those scenes particularly yet, but we will get to them soon. But then also, I felt this is very like Alice in Wonderland-y. There's a lot of like falling down the holes, right? Like,
Sure.
And then some of the characters as well that come down later, like the birds and the turtle, like the turtle grandma thing. Is very Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland-y.
Yeah, Alice in Wonderland's a good shout, but the main influence on this was actually The Wizard of Oz.
When I grew up, Wizard of Oz became a ritual for me. I began seeing it on TV when I was around 2 or 3 years old. And I watched it every year on TV. And there was some scary ass stuff there. It made me have nightmares. Literally, I remember the witch flying through the window, and I'd have nightmares with that image. But I kept wanting to go back and watch it every year until I was 10, and I went to see it for the first time in the movie theater. And when Dorothy opened the door and everything turned into Technicolor, it was my first acid trip. It was like, I didn't need drugs. I was so flipped out because I knew that movie so well. I had no idea. Nobody ever told me that it was going to turn into color. So that was a real wow. So that film is honestly much more influential on this Super XUXA than Labyrinth. Labyrinth came out a year or two before we made that film, and for me, it was like, oh, wow, this works. We can do that. When I saw that, I also saw Dark Crystal around that time. So it was those two films, Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, looked to me stylistically like, oh, these are successful films. We can do this with the budget that we have. Let's go for it. So it kind of was an affirmation more than anything, a stylistic affirmation. Jim Henson established that puppetry can be very successful and commercially viable.
Funny.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I actually made a reference to Wizard of Oz in my notes, but in a complete separate separate thing. Not in terms of like similar content, but just as a side note. I'll talk about it at the end of the podcast, but that's interesting. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I can see the Wizard of Oz. I think for me, the Labyrinth stuff is more like it's a similar kind of story, so it will naturally sort of have those sort of comparisons. Yeah,
but not only that. So you're saying this only came out a year or so after Labyrinth?
I think so. Yeah,
that's crazy because there's a scene that we get to, in Labyrinth where Jennifer Connelly approaches the entrance of the maze, and there's the little caterpillar in the wall, and the maze just goes on forever. She can't find the entrance. Like we have that exact scene in this film.
That's for me, that's the one part that is like brings to mind Labyrinth.
Like it's like scene for scene.
So we're back to Rafa. He's getting chased by Mosagao and Chichika, but they're now all on bikes, which is quite confusing at first because they've got helmets on, so you don't know who's who.
Yeah.
But Rafa's getting chased by the two sidekicks. They drive into a fast food restaurant. Causing absolute chaos. The restaurant is called Bob's, and I looked it up, so this is another piece of advertising the film. It's a Brazilian fast food chain.
Really?
With 811 stores in Brazil.
Wow.
So it's a pretty big store. But I love this thing because it's almost like a bit trauma.
Yeah.
There's like teens making out, and then like they'll ride over some like sauce bottle, it'll squirt them in the face and stuff like that. There's a bit where Rafa's like flung off the bike and slides down the counter, and then someone is like holding out a hot dog or something, and he just shoves it into his mouth, biting onto it. It's mad stuff. But anyway, that's all irrelevant, that fast food bit. He runs out of there. Mosagao and Chichika are still chasing him. They corner him, and he's caught and taken to Baixo in the down mood world. And Baixo invites him to access his fridge.
Yes. So this was the first point where I was like, oh, so there's a Coca-Cola product placement in this movie.
There's a big Coke right in the middle, right, of the fridge.
It's not just that. It's like we're in this grimy, dirty, everything is caked in scud. It's grim.
Literal feces.
Yeah. And the boss is like, you can access my fridge, and opens the fridge. And inside the fridge as well, it's disgusting. Apart from this one like glowing bottle of Coke in the middle. Like it's illuminated.
Pristine.
Yeah, it's
right
like the magical bottle of Coke, right?
Yeah, and in this scene, like Baixo is like, I need to train you to be my sidekick. Shusho, the dog, is all chained up, begging for help. It's really messed up. And Baixo wants Rafa to torture Shusho. But Rafa refuses to do it. He's not a bad kid. And then this next part, when I first saw this and I was feeling sick, I quite seriously nearly threw up watching the scene. So, because he was refusing to torture the dog, Mosagao and Chichika punish him. So they give Rafa a mop and a bucket and sort of put him under like this shower head sort of thing. Yeah. And then they pull this like toilet chain that's next to it, and he basically, there's like Nickelodeon shows where you get slimed.
Like that,
But imagine that, but instead of slime, it's literal shit. And he's like coated in liquid poo.
Was it liquid poo? I thought it was like oil or something.
I mean, because they're like down in the sewers and stuff, my feeling was it's poo, but maybe that's just where my mind goes. But he's like disgusted by this. And then it gets worse.
Quite distressing.
It gets worse. Then he runs off, and out of the trash that's in this place, he digs out a sort of half-used tube of Colgate, and then smears some onto his fingers and starts rubbing it over his teeth. But he's all like covered in shit, and like just
really like vigorously rubbing his teeth. And you can see like panic in his face. He's like
oh my god, that scene is so bonkers.
It's very upsetting. But you said that this was also a sponsor. So Colgate paid them to put their product in this movie, and this is how it was used. And I don't think we see Colgate again.
That's it. Yeah,
it's just this poor kid Rafa covered in shit, desperately trying to clean his teeth. I mean, it's not quite the beautiful product placement that Coca-Cola got, did it?
Oh my god, that is true. And it's also like a grimy like tube.
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
like half squeezed like, out the trash, like literally squeezing the dregs of the Colgate out.
Oh, that is really grim. That's so grim. So then we get the next scene, the Wall of Illusions, which is the kind of most labyrinthy kind of scene.
It's labyrinth.
Shusha's been sucked into the TV and she's now in like this weird kind of fantasy world. Nothing really makes any kind of logical sense from where she goes here. She's just in another world and traveling through these different places. But she's standing in front of this huge wall of hieroglyphics, and I really love like the design of the scene. The lighting is really cool. The set looks amazing. This scene is very much David's scene.
I had so much fun doing Muro das Ilusões, is the Wall of Illusions. I storyboarded that whole thing in my head, thinking what would be really fun for Shusha to do if we could do anything we wanted to do within the budget that we had. I think this is mostly my scene more than any other in the film because it's so visual. I created the whole scene with optical illusions and things moving that don't normally move, and then a song that I helped write the lyrics on. I didn't take credit for it because I didn't need to do that, but I was creating the story behind it, how to move past walls of illusions and get to your goal. I mean, there was a theme in that, but I basically created all the visuals for that, and the music would, fit. We kind of created the music to fit the visuals in a sense too, so that it could be a united piece. A lot of visuals were done after the song was made, but mostly we were storyboarding and writing the songs and the lyrics at the same time, so they would be very coordinated.
Yeah, so she tries to push the wall, trying to get through this big wall. The clawed hands start coming in again because she's feeling that down mood. But like almost every time the clawed hands come down, they're interrupted by a scream of another character.
Right.
So we hear like this screaming sound, and we hear a voice delivering the very unusual line of, "What are eyes for if you can't see?" Another t-shirt idea there for that one.
Add it to the pile.
Here we meet... So, all right, we've had Shusha, the main character. Shusho, the dog. This character's name is Shisha.
Shisha. Right.
How would you describe Shisha?
Easily, it's a caterpillar. A kind of sassy caterpillar.
I would say more than just a caterpillar, though. For me, it's the face is very full on. It's an uncanny valley territory.
Who does it look like?
I don't know who it looks like, but it just looks very human. It's not like It's not like the dog.
This one puppet was very fun to work with because we did it in several scales. It was basically the size of, to fit into a little pouch that Shusha wore at her waist. And then when we go on a close-up, we've got a puppet that's got a head about this big. So that's being manipulated, by the puppeteer to be in sync with both the dialogue and the music itself and playback. So that was a really fun one to do. So what I did in post-production on that was to Foley the sounds of the minhoca, we call them, and a caterpillar. And I took a water balloon and filled it up half with air and half with water and wet the outside of it. And I played this watery, gooey, slippery kind of instrument in a Foley stage, watching the image.
I liked this puppet. There was something which is, back to what you were saying, just where my mind goes. There was something very odd about this puppet because it's kind of coming in and out the wall, right? And there was something very glory hole-like about this caterpillar because its tail end is coming out of a hole in the wall and kind of like flopping around. Just looks like a fucking flaccid penis coming out a wall.
Oh god!
I know it's not supposed to be, but then there's one point a little bit later where the where liquid starts dripping out of the tip of it.
There is something about this caterpillar that made me uncomfortable. I'm not sure. I couldn't quite pinpoint it, but maybe that's part of it as well. Also, one other little fact about this caterpillar. So the woman voicing Shisha is Katia Morales.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. But yeah, she now lives in Los Angeles and is quite a popular singer.
Oh.
And she is still friends with David. So there you go.
Well, hey.
You can go see Shisha the caterpillar performing in LA if you want.
Hey.
But yes, as you said, some weird things happen with this caterpillar after this. So Shisha demands to see Shusha's nails.
Yeah.
And to read her future, kind of do a palm reading, but it's a nail reading.
Yeah.
And yeah, she spits some ash or something on the fingernails first, and then, yeah, jizzes out some oil from the tail. And then Shusha's nail turns into a rainbow.
Arco-íris.
Yeah.
Which we hear it will be a shield to protect her. So yeah, Shusha looks into the nail and sees her dog, and also sees a big mountain, which shows where she has to go next. And then we get a pretty wild song.
Oh, man.
Where yeah, Shisha, the caterpillar, starts singing a song about solutions. And yeah, like this bit's just crazy. Like Shusha's like picking stuff off the wall.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of muck coming off the wall, and then she throws it up and it sort of freezes in midair, and the wall's like warping and shrinking and changing shape. We're seeing like mirrors and like weird optical illusions.
A lot of mirror stuff in here.
A lot of mirror stuff. And then Shusha just does this like really, I've written it down as a rad dance. Does a really great, I really loved her dancing at this bit. But it's done like next to mirrors and stuff. So we're seeing like multiple Shushas, or like legs poking out from mirrors. So it's all like warped bodies. The caterpillar gets involved as well. It's quite a demented moment in the film.
The whole film is demented, but yeah, this is especially bizarre.
Yeah. So then after the song, the walls open up, leading to a desert, and they head off. The caterpillar, as well as Shusha, head off into that desert.
Oh, that's it. Shisha comes along for the ride.
Shisha's along for the ride, yeah. But before we see what happens in that desert, we go back to the old down mood by Baixo Astral, where he's fucking furious about, he hates that caterpillar, understandably. I also love like Baixo's talking about all the bad things they've done.
Yeah,
did you catch some of the bad things?
Oh, what was it? It was like poisoning the well and stuff. Or...
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous stuff. Taking milk away from starving children. Putting graffiti on the Great Wall of China.
That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, Mosagao and Chichika, they're like demanding to torture Shusho, the dog. They like really want to hurt him for some reason. And they pull out some fleas and put them on Shusho. And those fleas play a somewhat important role later in the film.
Yeah.
And this is the bit where the Shusha doll that we were talking about, it kind of comes to life in the scene, and it's like watching this happen, and it's like, oh no!
It was quite upsetting.
So Baixo watches his TV screen as Shusha's walking around the desert. He's eating giant hunks of meat as it's happening.
He's the only one who's allowed to eat. No one else has any food.
No, he's just eating these piles of meat. And he also demands for Mosagao and Chichika to send bad vibes Shusha's way. So then we're into the desert where Shusha is having a terrible time complaining about that heat. Then some weird shit happens.
Yeah. Like some monsters like pop up in the background and she just starts attacking them. Just like throwing sand at them.
It's very un-Shusha-like.
I know. I guess it's the bad vibes.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we don't even know what they're doing. But she's like, "Stop it, you monsters!" and starts attacking them, throwing sand at them. And what are they doing?
Shisha tells us they're Langos, is what they're called. And they just want to protect the environment. Yeah. And they're planting trees and bringing the desert back to life.
That would be someone that Shisha should know about.
Shusha? Yeah. Yeah, she should make some business deals with them.
And then, we see them plant some trees, and then that's kind of it. They don't ever come back.
That's basically it. And
we don't have any other reference or anything to the desert.
No,
like,
that's it for the Lango Langos. They kind of like point her in the right way. That's, I guess, their function. But
and where is the right way?
Oh, wow. So, yeah. This scene is probably the reason why I wanted to do this film when I first saw it. This has always been on my list for the podcast.
Right.
So they arrive at the sea, at the ocean, the beach, and Shisha's just like instantly goes to sleep. This is the caterpillar, not Shusha.
Right.
So we do get a respite from the caterpillar, which is quite nice to not have that caterpillar around for a bit.
Interesting about this scene is like, so she arrives at the ocean, but all of her shots, Shusha's shots, are like really close. So it takes quite a long while for us to actually see the ocean. We can hear the ocean and the waves crashing, but for quite a while we never actually see anything. So I was like, are you really in the ocean, or are you just pretending?
Oh, but we will be in that ocean soon. So Shusha's all upset. She's like lying down on the beach. We get the hands coming down to get her again, which are again interrupted by a very mournful scream.
That screeching noise.
Oh,
I was like, what the fuck is that?
this part is very disturbing. So Shusha looks around. She sees a pink dolphin in a net. And the dolphin tells her, it's so fun. The dolphin's like, they're going to pull out my eyes and sell them. They say that my eyes bring good luck.
Maldade! Por que fizeram isso com você?
Eles vão arrancar meus olhos para vender na feira.
Which is such a disturbing way to introduce yourself to someone, really. And the voice of this dolphin is so creepy because it's a normal man's voice.
Right.
But then there's like this sort of screeching dolphin screaming in the background of the voice, sort of echoing. Yeah, it's just really intense. And Shusha, she's just like, yeah, you should just get out of here. Yeah. What are you doing? And yeah, she frees the dolphin. Then we crossfade into the water where Shusha is riding the dolphin, and we start to hear a song about being brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
And I wanted to take a pause before we get into this song, which is my favorite part of the film, just to play you a clip of David and I talking about this particular scene.
Are you speaking of the moment that she discovers the dolphin?
Yeah. I remember just being like, "Whoa!" It's quite a like gut wrenching moment.
It's really satisfying to know that you had that feeling because we wanted to have that impact. Anna and I have always and probably always will be environmentalists and nature lovers, and that we wanted to have that impact that you just described. And then, how did you feel later in the scene?
Like when it gets really fun after that, the musical number.
I mean, to get back, she rescues the dolphin and then goes swimming underwater and sings the song with all these creatures.
Yeah, that's my favorite bit in the film, that musical number.
Thank you. Well, that's great.
That whole sequence is, I was enjoying the film, but that's the scene that made me really love the film. That was my favorite part.
Well, please play that to your audience when you edit this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can see not only Shusha is an environmentalist, but both David and Anna are. So this scene is like quite important for them. And it is disturbing. That dolphin, like when you see it, it's so full on. In a kid's film as well.
A beach dolphin wrapped up in a net saying they're going to sell my eyes.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucked.
And like you said before, like the kind of the moments that you get in this, that like it's a kid's film, but this freaks me out as an adult. Like if I was a kid watching this, I'd have nightmares about that dolphin for weeks, I'd say.
There's something, I mean obviously it's a puppet, but there's something just very distressing looking about this dolphin.
For sure, yeah. It's really... Yeah, you're right.
I think because, I mean, it almost looks like, imagine Mr. Blobby as a dolphin, because he's pink as well, right? It's just that big, like, bug-eyed thing, just like Like, 'cause he's big and he's on the beach, so kind of awkward looking because he's not in the water.
That's not our first reference to Mr. Blobby in this podcast.
Mr. Blobby's pretty wrong, though, so I feel like it's appropriate.
We should do a Mr. Blobby mini at some point. That'd be good. Okay, so back to the film. Shusha is riding the dolphin underwater.
I liked this scene.
Yeah, this is my favorite
It was
part.
great.
And it's mad. It's mad. So not only is she riding this dolphin while singing this song, all the fish around her are dancing and kissing each other relentlessly. Like, all these fish are just like kissing each other, and we see like an octopus playing a fish as a trumpet, and like a fish playing shellfish as instruments.
Yeah.
And when I was watching this, I'm like, wow, this is really ripping off The Little Mermaid.
Right.
But it's not. Because this film came out before The Little Mermaid. So The Little Mermaid ripped off Super XUXA. With all the fish playing each other.
I see.
But there is so much, like, fish making out.
Everyone is like very happy. They're all smiling. I've never seen a fish smile before, but all these fish look happy as fuck. And I really like the way this scene was established, because even though like they're in the water, this wasn't filmed in the water. So she's like essentially levitating by some sort of device. So she's flying through the air on top of this dolphin. And the way they created the water effects was probably just by blasting her with a fan. So her hair is all like floating as if it was underwater. And it looks great.
Yeah. It's a great moment of the film. It's the highlight for sure. And after the song wraps up, the dolphin, the disturbing dolphin, gives Shusha a bracelet as a present.
This is important.
And he tells her, don't ever be violent, and swims off.
You know, we watched an English subtitled version. I'm wondering how accurate these subtitles are.
I think that they're really shitty.
Right.
I think they're shitty subtitles, unfortunately, yeah.
Because there are some very odd things said in here.
Yeah, I think like you get the gist of the story, but there's definitely a lot lost in these subtitles. Yeah, there's some bizarre moments.
Don't be violent.
Yeah. Hey, take this bracelet, don't be violent, okay?
I think
don't be violent.
One of my favorite lines that comes up soon says, like, hell, don't let the turtle get defecated.
Yeah. That was the other one I was going to bring up.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Bonkers. So then we've had the disturbing dolphin scene, then we get the next most disturbing scene
of the
film. So we're back to Baixo Astral's lair. Now we're getting into strategy 3, which is confuse the enemy. So he shouts out for Mosagao and Chichika, his sidekicks. But they've been some naughty boys, and they've stolen from his giant meat pile. They've stolen some sausages, which they're cooking in some fucking disgusting area of the lair that wouldn't want to eat in this place. You're definitely getting sick.
I wouldn't want to go there.
You're going to have diarrhea for weeks after eating in this place. So they're frying up these sausages that they've stolen from their boss. Shusho the dog manages to steal a sausage because he's hungry as well. He didn't get fed those cookies from before. And he's stolen this sausage, so Chichika grabs the dog, pulls him up onto the chopping block, and he's going to chop off the dog's tail to replace the sausage. But in the process, the dog escapes, and Chichika, what did you call him? The fat swine man?
The pig man.
The pig man. He chops off his own finger, which then falls into the sausage pile.
Yeah.
And when I was watching this, I'm like, this is madness. Like, this is for kids. And I love it. Yeah. Because this is what kids' films used to be like.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Used to be fucked.
And yeah, David and I talked a bit about that.
It's just like a gross sight gag, like Three Stooges would have done in my childhood. I cringed when I saw the fingers going in their eyes, because I really felt like, oh, they're really hurt. They're really sticking a finger in there. And to me, that was like, it was difficult to watch. But we were making this for kids, like, I'd say the main audience was like probably 3 to 12-year-olds. And in Brazil, I say we, because when I was there, it was like, I felt part of this culture does not have the same sensitivities as a puritanical culture like most of the United States. And I think gross out stuff in Brazil I think it was kind of like our punk movement, you know, but punk for little kids.
But it is still like quite a shocking scene to put into a children's film, right?
Yeah, but
a severed finger in a frying pan.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's fantastic. But it's the same as like, you know, like Dark Crystal. I remember like watching that as a kid, and you've seen Dark Crystal, right?
Yeah, only once, didn't like it.
Really? Oh, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But there's a bit where a character has their kind of like their being, their soul, like sucked out of them.
Right.
And it's this cute little character called a podling, as it's like getting drained of its essence.
Right.
And its like body is like getting shrunk up, and its eyes are going like fully white. And it's so disturbing to be in a kid's film. But as a kid, I like hated that scene and loved it. You kind of like keep wanting to see sort of stuff like that. Same with like Temple of Doom.
I was just about to say, like, because they weren't, I don't know about Australia or actually probably even England for that sake, but I swear they're rated like PG.
I think so,
England.
yeah.
So like anyone can see them, but those like last scenes are insane. And even like in the Holy Grail, where he drinks from the wrong grail and gets all his life sucked out of him. I remember that terrifying me as a kid.
Absolutely, yeah. And I feel like that's something, I mean, I don't know, I guess I don't really watch kids' films, modern kids' films, but I feel like they don't go to those places anymore. Not that Indiana Jones is a kids' film, but it's sort of, as you say, like PG, kind of family sort of film. And Temple of Doom, you've got like guys ripping out hearts and like monkey brains being eaten. It's really horrific stuff.
Yeah. And even on the lighter side of things, even in like Back to the Future, which is also a PG, like they curse so much in those movies. So even just the language used in today's movies are so everything is so much cleaner than it was before.
That's true. Got to bring that stuff back.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
You heard it here first.
So post the finger being chopped off, Baisho comes over, he's all pissed off. Morsegawa and Chichika blame the dog and Rafa for stealing the sausages. But Baisho's proud of Rafa for breaking the rules and lets him go and raid the fridge again.
More cola in
I guess to get more Coke. So then we get the Tree of Knowledge sequence.
God, this scene was a nightmare.
Yeah, this is really intense stuff. Actually, I would say from here for the next maybe 15 minutes, it's pretty intense. So Shusha's approaching this sort of, there's like a mountain off in the distance, right? And there's like these different roads leading to where she needs to go. And this canary bird thing suddenly, like very realistic looking canary, pops out of a tree stump and just immediately starts screaming at her.
And, it's just like relentless crazy talk.
Yeah. And Shusha's trying to ask like what road leads to the mountain. And as she's trying to ask this canary, this weird kind of monkey man appears behind her that she never interacts with, but he's just like copying all her movements.
And is it me or is this monkey not in a jail costume? Like he's in a jail suit.
Is that what it is? Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, it's like he is in some kind of, it looks something like that, or like, I don't know.
It's fucked.
Very, it's fucked.
It's fucked.
And she's getting dizzy. Yeah, Shusha's getting dizzy from the canary's like insane directions and stumbles backwards, falls back into a tree, this massive tree. And as she does, all these books fall out of the tree and they land on this unbelievably disturbing looking turtle woman who you mentioned before, who says
hell, don't let the turtle get defecated. And it's like a grandma in a turtle costume, isn't it?
It's imagine like a grandma, just a grandma's head that's been attached to a turtle. It's really alarming stuff.
Yeah, and the trees are talking, the books, and the song that plays. It's like the I want to know knowledge song.
Yeah, this is where I get a little lost. But yeah, basically the turtle's talking about how books hold wisdom, human legs are a defect because it means that you don't stay still to learn. You're just always going somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you say, Shusha's like singing this song about the different things that she wants to know.
Yeah.
Just all sorts of things. It's kind of like a reggae sort of sounding song.
But then isn't this the song that also has like a really kind of like intense theme? Like there are lyrics like, why are there so many children in poverty? Why are there so many if war kills so many? Like, wait, this is still a kid's film, right?
Yeah. It goes to those dark places. So the turtle tells her, you've got to take your first step. And this part I didn't really understand, but the turtle wants a dictionary. I don't know why. The subtitles are a bit too confusing for me to make sense of. Shusha climbs up the vines to get a dictionary. She opens it up, but she can't find the words that the turtle wants to look up. Shusha's like, how am I supposed to go up this tree? And the turtle's like, but you already are going up the tree. So I guess that was that was the turtle's move.
Turtle.
That old turtle woman.
She's done it again.
Yeah, that turtle lady, that's a bit much, isn't it? It's a thing of nightmares.
Yeah.
You could imagine that crawling out of like Pan's Labyrinth or something. Along with that eyeball hands guy.
Oh god, just that scene, just that the turtle in the corner, just like, don't defecate.
So then we're back to Baisho's lair, and Baisho is trying to torture the dog. He's got some kind of torture device, but Rafa saves the day, starts pelting them with food from the fridge.
Pastas them.
And I found this so bleak, this moment, because like Morsagao and Chichika just start eating the food.
Oh yeah.
And it's just gross because they're in this
hungry fellas.
Great.
Yeah.
They're hungry fellas.
But this is where we get
desperate for-
another, like, we get like a Coca-Cola like fridge bang in the center of the frame.
Yeah.
Everything around it is dirty, and there's just massive letters of Coca-Cola.
Coke. That Coca-Cola red shining out from the filth. And yeah, Rafa tries to escape, and he gets into a fight with Baisho. They've both got antennas.
I like this scene.
Yeah, and they're having this like antenna fight.
It's like the antenna from the TV, right?
Yeah.
So then because of that, the reception of the TV gets scrambled.
That's it, yeah. So Rafa eventually loses the fight, but Baisho's kind of pissed off as well because he doesn't have access to the TV anymore. It's all just static. Back to Shusha, she's climbing up that tree, but now it's just vines. Yeah. She's just like in amongst all these vines. And then...
this fucking scene.
Wait, before we get there though, I've got a story. So the vine stuff was quite interesting. So David told me about the making of that scene as well.
We originally had a scene called the Tree of Knowledge, which ended up becoming the Vine of Knowledge, which is great. I mean, we created a wonderful thing, but the reason it got transformed was budgetary. Our art director budgeted what it would be like to build a tree like we were imagining, which would be like one of these giant Amazonian trees. And we had this meeting, I remember, where we couldn't do what was envisioned. I mean, it was written in the script, and then we did storyboards, and then she came back with the budget, the art director, and we could not approve it. As a producer, I understood, okay, this is my company, and I've got a budget to work. So I came up with this idea to make it into vines, and that way we didn't have to structure a huge, big building of a tree, which would have been 15 feet in diameter, and there's all that. We just had to basically get really, really strong ropes like those that they use in the docks. And there's plenty of big docks and giant ropes for the huge ocean liners. So we just got these ropes and decorated them, made them look like they were, vines instead of ropes. And it was much, much cheaper. And what it did was it made the whole set move. And there's this whole scene that is called Voix Voix, with the birds that she meets on the climb. And they're all swinging, and we hired acrobats to be able to do all the different tricks on the ropes. And it was just so dynamic and so absolutely crazy, absurd energy.
So she's climbing up, and we meet some very intense characters.
I hated these guys.
They're pretty,
terrifying.
This is, they're terrifying, and the way it's like put together is really, it's like having someone shout at you relentlessly. So these birds that are like appearing, these played by acrobats.
So when we say birds, these aren't like the previous birds.
That's right.
These are people in a costume. Like they look like humans, but they have like a beak attached, and so they're very human-like.
And they're just giving her all sort of life advice of how she needs to get to this hop, but it's all just sort of madness, right?
What's it doing? Like you said, I mean, I guess because they're acrobats, they're kind of like flinging themselves around and they're twitching and squawking, and it's very erratic.
Yeah.
And I think because she's already climbed up into the sky on these vines, you already have that, I guess, fear of her dropping and falling, being in this really high, dangerous place, to then being surrounded by these men in bird costumes who start squawking at her, and they're scary. They're really upsetting, and they kind of reminded me of I don't know if you saw it, The Return to Oz.
Yes,
you know the Wheelers. In Return to Oz?
It has that feeling. Yeah, they're really creepy. This, even though it is just men in bird beaks. But they're very frightening, and they're doing like weird shit as well. They're like making out and stuff at points.
Doesn't he like start eating his like boogers?
Yeah, he's like pulling boogers out, eating those, and they're going for her all the time. And one of them starts talking about how you've got to own nothing. You got to travel light, throw everything away. And then we cut into this song that is maybe the wackiest song in this. And it's like this anti-materialism song. And it's the way it's cut together. It's all like fast motion shots of the birds like dancing on the vines and flinging around, making out, and it just gets like faster and faster and faster. And it's a full on fever dream, this whole song. And it's just stressful to watch. It's really stressful. You really feel for Shusha in this scene, I think.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Those are the lyrics. Our only thing is to fly, fly, fly. all the lyrics in all the songs, I mean, you could put it down to the subtitles, but all of the lyrics in all the songs are bizarre.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's partly the subtitles, but they are like very strong. There are strong themes in these songs that are sometimes at odds with the genre of this movie. So Shusha gets past the birds.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, they're gone, thankfully, and keeps climbing up on her own. And finally, our mate Shisha, the caterpillar, wakes up and is like, "Oh, here we go! Finally, something's happening." But before they can reach the top of these vines, Shusha slips and falls down.
Oh, right, yeah. She's saying like she can't like fly because she has no imagination, right?
Yeah, and Shisha's like, "You gotta believe, you gotta be positive." And then suddenly, cut to Shusha, who appears to be flying, has these like massive big wings behind her, and you're sort of like, what's going on? Can she actually fly? Is she super Shusha at this point?
That's the power of imagination.
Yeah, but then she lands on a cloud, and we see that and we see that Shisha has actually turned into a butterfly.
Yay!
And saved her at that point. So there you go.
Wow.
So Shisha, formerly caterpillar, now a lovely butterfly.
But we do see the shot of Shusha the girl with wings at one point.
Yeah, right? But
is that just
feel that it was implying that the butterfly was behind her. But you could be right. Maybe she did.
I thought because the whole time she's like talking about she has no imagination, and then she's falling. I felt like she managed to channel her inner imagination, sprout wings. But I'm probably wrong.
Maybe I just assumed the caterpillar saved her.
That would make more sense. Although sense doesn't apply in this film.
So then we get a very tripped out sequence. So we're up in the clouds, and Shusha's like hurt her wrist in the tumble that she took, and we hear this sort of disembodied voice that tells them to come closer, and then we realize it's a crystal talking to them. This crystal with like special powers. These crystals. Here's something exciting about the crystals from David.
Yeah,
going to get real crystals that were giant crystals. I mean, we're talking like some of the biggest crystals in the world come from Brazil. And we went to a collector who allowed us to rent his crystals that would have been tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy, but we rented them for the shoot, and they were real giant crystals, and some of them have these amazing rainbows in it, and that's a theme of our film is the rainbow.
That's
pretty cool.
impressive, yeah. I like the crystal guy. He's like, inside your wrist, the energy is confused.
It's very, like, it gets a bit cultish, doesn't it?
It does.
So, yeah, he cures her wrist, and then we see, like, flowers, like, these living flowers that are, like, screaming and, like, all around the place. Yeah, Shusha just starts, like, dancing around the crystal, and the flowers are dancing. She's singing a song about being on the higher ground.
Oh, yeah.
And she wants to live in this place forever. And yeah, this is where it gets really culty. And I kind of thought that this was going to be, what's the word, like a twist.
Right.
Where the crystal was actually like a villain. Because it feels very culty, where he's like, this is a great place.
Yeah, and he has a line in the
song.
song. It's like, listen to the crystal. And he speaks with a really deep voice as well, doesn't he?
But he's not a bad guy. It is. This is legit. He's a legit
I did
crystal.
love it. There's like a laser light show coming out from behind the crystal. It's just insane.
So we hear that no one lives in this lovely crystal cloud place because people can't be positive all the time. And when they're not positive, they get pulled down into the Baixo, the Baixo Astral, get pulled down into that horrible shit smeared sewer with those annoying Rammstein boys. So the crystal tells Shusha that only a super person can help fight the down mood.
Right.
And he shows her a future version of herself where she looks like a
Hag.
yeah, I was going to say like a crackhead or something, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But hag's good. Yeah, she looks like a crack hag. A crack hag in that crystal. He also tells her you need a shield of energy. And Shusha pulls out a small little crystal from within the big crystal, which is a sort of magical rainbow crystal. So then back to Baixo, he's having a little freak out about Shusha's success, and he storms about beating the shit out of his sidekicks, and he gives Morsegal, the kind of goblin-looking sidekick, just this pile of paperwork, like sort of nondescript paperwork, and he's like, go do this, go do that. And meanwhile, Rafa, he's been locked up, like because of his the sausage incident. Oh wait, not the sausage, the food
spaghetti throwing.
The spaghetti throwing.
This was a part that I was kind of confused by because he's in like some kind of like dungeon, right? And there's loads of other children in there as well. So I don't know why there are all these kids.
I guess maybe they're like failed attempts.
Is that why?
I mean, that was my guess. Like,
right. Okay.
Or they're just like negative kids that have been slurped down into down mood town. But
they're all talking about all the bad things that they've done.
Yeah. Mostly involves toads.
Uncle's like, I blew up a toad. Because I put the bits of toad in my mum's soup.
It's all toad-based crimes. So then back to Shusha and Shisha, even though she's a butterfly and she says, I should be off making babies in the forest, which is a very alarming thing to imagine. But Shisha's like, no, I'm going to come along. I'm going to help you out.
Oh, yeah, and
we'll sort this out.
Reason being, she says, I love danger. Adventure is my middle name.
Yeah. That's true.
I've never heard anyone say that. Normally it's danger's my middle name.
That's true. I like danger. Adventure is my middle name. That's quite funny. Yeah, then, boom. Shusha, she's in the down mood.
Yeah, I don't know how she got there.
She's there, mate. She's there.
But how?
She's there. She's super Shusha. And she comes across... Don't worry about it. Just move on. She comes across Morsegal, the goblin man, doing his piles of paperwork.
He's like an admin.
And Shusha's like, how do I get to Baixo Astral? He tells her to go to the information center. God, I love this bit. So she goes and dings like a nearby bell. There's no one there. And Morsegal starts talking about the spider web of bureaucracy. And he starts handing Shusha forms that she needs to fill out. And he's talking about protocol and demanding documents. And as this is happening, she starts literally getting wrapped in a web, in a literal web. We're seeing a clock showing the time just like spinning by really, really fast. Yeah, then she finally starts to sort of break free of the web of bureaucracy.
I love the necessary documents that she needs.
Yeah, what was an example of
So he's like, if you want to go there, you need the necessary documents. And he's like, well, what's that? He's like, well, have you got your sadomasochistic visa?
Yeah.
Have you got your certificate of badness?
Yeah.
Have you done a cold blood test? To list all these ridiculous things. That's a great detail.
It's really great. But she manages to break free by the dictionary that she got from the Tree of Knowledge. She basically goes through that and starts dropping all these sort of complex concepts and words on Morsagao, who kind of freaks out during this, and it breaks the web. Yeah. And then as this is happening, it sort of goes into this song about the spider web of bureaucracy. And this song, David talked about making this as well, where he was quite involved in the production of this song.
There's a song called Teia de Burocracia, which means the spider web of bureaucracy. And it's when she's going to try to get out of the Baixo Astral, and she's the guy won't give her the proper form to fill out because he's got to get the stamp, and then he's got to get the approval, and she starts to get wound up in the web itself, becomes alive and starts entangling her, and then she breaks loose and sings this song, and getting basically how to get through all the bureaucratic BS, and it's really a funny song, and it's a commentary on real Brazilian culture, not just Brazilian, but anybody who's had a traffic ticket they shouldn't have gotten, or whatever, that kind of thing. So it was definitely a fun thing to do. So the design of the music I thought of as mirroring Money on Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, where, if you're familiar with that, it begins with the sounds of money, coins and cash register, and it builds a rhythm as you hear them. And so I wanted to do that, but not with money, with bureaucracy. So we gathered all the sounds of an old office, like, typewriters and piles of paper and rubber stamping and all that stuff. And so I built this for them, for the music composers and engineers, and just basically handed them the tracks that I built. And that became like the rhythm track that set the music to go with this whole song.
And yeah, as this song's playing, we're seeing she's like making papier-mâché fruit and like just filling up this boring office with
she makes
color
loads of like
papier-mâché.
origami. I think that's what I thought that killed him at one point, because he's like freaking out about the origami.
You don't see him. He's hating that. But I did love this. I mean, we've talked about it on the podcast before, but Japan is, the home of bureaucracy and pointless documents. So this scene really, despite it being about Brazilian bureaucracy, really hit home for me as well.
It was a good scene. It was a good scene. The setting was incredible. I loved all the desks stacked full of paperwork. It looked good.
It's great. So then we get the next attempt to capture Xuxa. Baixo sends off Chichika, the swine guy, to
this
deal with it.
scene's gross.
When
he's talking to the Barbie, the doll.
Yeah, that's right. Before he gets sent off, he's like talking to the doll, kind of creepily.
And he's like, "Do you want to change your clothes?"
Yeah.
And the way it's lit, so the Barbie's like in nice lighting, but the background is completely black.
It's quite.
So it's just this Barbie on screen with nothing else behind her, and him talking to her with this like fucking snout nose, saying, like, let's play. I want to change your clothes. It's really grim. And then the boss comes and he quickly tucks it in his pocket.
I also thought, like, when Baixo like sends him off to do the work, he has like scissors, and I could be wrong, but is he implying that he's going to chop his dick off if he doesn't do the job properly?
Yeah. He kind of has these scissors and he points them down, and they kind of go below out of screen, and they make a snip noise.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow! What a
very
moment.
suggestive for a kids film.
Yeah. So Baixo then tortures Xuxa, the dog. He's like reading a fake letter to him, which it's kind of funny. He's like saying like, "Oh yeah, Xuxa's got new friends now. She's hanging out with this caterpillar. She doesn't need you anymore." And Xuxa's like really upset by this, as you would be, because your owner's hanging out with a fucking caterpillar. Come on.
I would not be doing that.
Yeah. Hanging out with a caterpillar.
Oh, man, that's not my style.
Then we cut to the fleas that are on the dog's back.
Oh, they look like octopus or something. They're
really
looking.
Creepy little guys like on his back, and it's sort of like zoomed in so we can fully see their details, right? Yeah, Shusha is like telling the fleas about how they should work for a circus.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking about like revolution, and it gets very, I don't know if it's just me, but this scene felt like something out of like a 1960s like Czech film, where it's like very like Eastern European, very like, you know, revolutionary sort of stuff. And the fleas are fucking loving it. They're like, yeah, they're like bouncing up and down on the dog's back. Those fleas, they're gonna be important for one moment later on. So Chichika's off to get Shusha, and we're in this absolutely fucking filthy set at this point. It just looks like a junkyard. Chichika starts like sort of shouting at Shusha, telling her that she's like doing things that are prohibited, like all this sort of stupid stuff, like littering, parking in the wrong place, and he's like spitting all over her.
Yeah, he spits all in her face. It's so gross.
It's really gross. Yeah, he keeps like rambling to her about this. He farts really horribly at one point, which makes the caterpillar lose its mind. And but then Shusha pulls out her dolphin ring.
That's right. Yep.
The
bracelet,
anti-violence dolphin bracelet, and
the anti-violence dolphin bracelet.
That'd also be a great T-shirt as well. And she starts like blowing bubbles from the bracelet into his face.
I don't know how it worked, because it's a bracelet, right? So it's a circular shape. It looks like she dips it into his pocket. And as she pulls it out, it's like caked in some like
spit or something.
Oh, maybe. But I imagine like washing up liquid solution. So she's meant to blow a bubble, and that makes him freak out for some reason. He hates bubbles.
While he's freaking out as well, his buttons on his jacket are sort of blasting off.
Oh, really?
But I'm not really sure why. But yeah, they're like blasting off, like because he's angry. Maybe I don't know.
And we have another song where she's like, "Hey, macho man." Wait. There's no macho man in this movie. It's a fat pig. Like,
it's a swine man.
There's no macho man.
But yeah, this sequence is quite baffling. His pants fall down at one point. That was a good detail. It goes into fast motion. There's a lot of crazy cuts. And then finally, Baixo Astral shows up. But he's not in his usual Rammstein makeup. He's sort of out of makeup.
Oh my, you know what? I didn't even realize it was him.
Yeah. So this is the
mind
same.
blown.
Yeah, this is Baixo Astral, but he's in disguise.
Right.
A normal man.
That makes it so much more funny.
Yeah, so he's come over as a biker.
As a cool dude.
Yeah, cool guy. And he knocks out Chichika. And he's like, I'm your hero, Shusha. You gotta rely on me. But he's like a real violent guy. So he's like trying to coax her over to the bad side. But as her dolphin bracelet said, no violence.
I love the way he pulls up, though. He's got like sparks coming out of his feet, and he's got massive sideburns.
Yeah. It's almost like David Lynchian, his character in this. Like it's like ridiculous. Something out of Twin Peaks: The Return or something. But yeah, he then says like, "I've got Shusha. I know where Shusha is," basically. And Shusha calls him two-faced, and then the caterpillar. I don't know if you remember this bit. I just love this bit. The caterpillar's like, yeah, I've known a lot of two-faced people. Actually, I knew someone with 16 faces, but I was drunk at the time.
What?
Yeah, it's just...
Did you say that?
Yeah, it's just a very bizarre little side note there.
Oh, man.
So then Baixo starts chasing Shusha on his motorbike, this sort of biker version of him. And Shusha falls down and then sort of falls into this tube and then is going down this tube into like a deeper underground world, like even into a grosser kind of place than she was before. And she lands in this new place and she's shouting out for this biker to reveal his real face. And then we get this absolutely awesome transformation where the biker Baixo Astral turns back into his true form.
Right.
And it's all in darkness and kind of like his face is like flashing up. Which would have fucking terrified me if I was a child in Brazil watching this.
It gets pretty dark from here on, doesn't it?
Yeah, extremely dark. So, yeah, this is finally the face-off between the two characters.
There's one point just before this where the fleas inside the dog start putting on a circus. Inside the dog's hair. And it's just a very, very subtle moment. And I think the dog says like, "Oh, you guys learn fast."
Yeah.
It's like when you're saying like, you should put on a circus.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, they actually put on a circus. And he's like, "Oh, you guys learn quick."
Yeah.
Like, it's very subtle, very fun.
He's been like coaching them, right? To eventually save him. But yeah, so Baisho and Shusha are like having this standoff, and Baisho claims that the dog, Shusha, has disintegrated because he was so sad.
Oh, can you imagine? In a kid's film, a dog being disintegrated.
It's horrific.
That's fucked.
So with this news, Shusha is just horrified by it. We also have Rafa at this point has escaped from his space, and he's like, should I help? Like, this is not true. The dog's still alive. But he can't bring himself. He can't work up the courage to approach. So he leaves. So now Shusha is starting to turn into that image that we saw before.
Yeah.
The sort of junky hag.
The hag.
Hag look. So she's, the down mood's fully taking her over.
And starts to like brainwash her, right? She's like, "You're a bad person." She's like, "I am a bad person."
And it gets like really fucked up here. Like, so Baisho takes out poison and he starts like spraying the caterpillar.
Yeah.
And there's like this shot of the caterpillar. It's insane, this wide angle shot of the caterpillar, and the caterpillar's like, I can't hear anymore. And it's intense.
This scene, I mean, there's still plenty to go, but as soon as we enter this like a down mood basement, like whatever, the final scene, the editing style and shooting style is so frantic and crazy. Like, it's really up close.
Yeah.
And really fastly cut together with sped up stuff and lots of intense and wrong angles.
Yeah.
So you really feel a sense of uneasiness throughout the whole scene. But then, when she starts turning into the hag.
Yeah.
And that shooting style and editing style continues. I mean, as you said, this would terrify anyone as a kid.
Absolutely, yeah. So she's full hag mode now.
Yeah.
And it's essentially implying that Baixo Astral and Shusha are going to sort of become this couple. Like, there's going to be a marriage between them, and they're going to do terrible things together. But then we cut to Shusho, the dog. He's being held captive by Mosagao and Chichika, and the fleas that he has been radicalizing with revolution and circus, thoughts of the circus on his back, they suddenly come to life and they jump off his back onto Mosagao and Chichika, who kind of panic about the fleas and let the dog go. He escapes, runs up to Baixo Astral and Shusha, and he pisses on Baixo Astral, who says,
"Oh, piss!"
Oh god, what a great moment.
It's like the only line in English.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's fantastic.
And then she turns back to normal.
Yeah, she sees the dog back to normal. She's delighted.
The power of piss.
The power of piss. That should have been like the subtitle for this, like the power of piss. Super Shusha, the power of piss. So they go to escape, but then this bit made me really upset. So Baixo Astral grabs the caterpillar and starts like pulling it and stretching it. So like there's like a tug of war between Shusha and the villains, essentially. So you've got on one side, so in the middle, the caterpillar, you've got Shusha, the dog, and the fleas, who are all helping try to pull the caterpillar back. And on the other side, the Rammstein lads.
So I guess there are 4 different versions of the caterpillar then.
Yeah, this is, I guess, Stretchy Boy Caterpillar, yeah.
Stretchy Boy Caterpillar.
So, in this tug of war, Shusha, she's not a violent person. We know that dolphin bracelet. No violence, please. And instead of resorting to violence, she forgives them. Forgives these Rammstein-looking
Power
villains.
Of forgiveness.
The power of forgiveness. And they can't believe it. And this actually brings Mosagao and Chichika over to her side. They want to go to the higher ground as well, in the positive world. They want to be happy. And they've had it. They want to just eat, probably. They're like really hungry. And so they join Shusha's side. And then Baixo Astral throws back the caterpillar, pulls out a gun with a TV on the end of it. And it's just showing all this like horrific news footage. And it starts zapping them of their positive
trying
energy.
to like corrupt them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So they're getting like all sort of sucked of their energy. And he's like showing images of the kids that he's got locked up. And then he does...
I was like, what the fuck is this? What is happening? Oh god, he starts singing Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Because I'm bad, who's bad?
Just that one line says, I'm bad.
I get the feeling this was a Shusha request because she loved Michael Jackson so much.
I
right?
mean, it's a very out of place.
Yeah. It feels
thing to put into
very,
this film.
yeah, sandwiched into this moment. But it's
But I guess of its time.
very much of its time, yeah. So Shusha pulls out her magical rainbow crystal, but
Oh yeah, from the happy place, right?
from the happy place, but she stumbles a bit, drops it on the ground. We think it's all over, but then Rafa, the punk kid, turned good. He comes out to save the day, throws the crystal back to Shusha. She shoots a rainbow out of it, and it blasts Baixo Astral. I guess he dies. He just like disappears into the rainbow.
Yeah.
Guess he's dead.
Guess so.
I guess he's done. And then the screen goes totally black. We hear Shusha talking about how we have to smile to bring back the light. We see her sort of holding a candle. A candle sort of flickers into frame, and she's talking about the rainbows and the planet. And then we cut to the crystal again, and we hear that banging rainbow tune that we heard at the start.
The opening one?
We had the
Oh, yeah.
opening song.
The platinum sales record.
Yeah, I think it was gold, maybe not platinum. And then we just cut to everyone, including Mosagao and Chichika, having a fucking great time. They're all colourful now, dancing about, balloons are everywhere. A newspaper comes up and it shows that Shusha has defeated Downmood forever. And Shusha blows a kiss to the camera, and that's it. The end.
Yeah, as you said, the goons, the pig man and the goblin man. So now they're on the good side, right? And a lot of the times in, especially like child's fantasy films, where you have a bad kind of monstrous looking guy become good, they kind of end up looking good in the last scene, or even like in The Wizard of Oz. You have all the main characters like the Tin Man, and when Dorothy wakes up, they're just normal people. In this film, they just stay exactly the same.
They're like a bit brighter and less grubby, but they still look...
But yeah, they're like pointy nose, pointy ears, pig nose, but just covered in balloons.
Yeah, the key elements of their like monstrous image is still there, right? So that is Super Shusha. And before we get to like our ratings and all that sort of stuff, I just wanted to talk about the aftermath of this film's release.
In Brazil, it was an immediate hit. We had lines around the block. It was so gratifying to see, like, boom, it exploded like we had hoped. I think there were around 3 million tickets for that whole year, which included, like, I forget, there was some very big popular American film that I don't remember, but it was some sci-fi or big fantasy film or something like that, and one other film that was out, really successful. But it was the third largest box office that year for all films, and for, I think, for Brazilian films, it broke all records. I was on Shusha's TV show. She was promoting, and she invited me in on, and some of the other people involved, and we just kind of partied it up and had a good time on our show, which is seen by the whole country. Basically, everybody watches that show. That's it. This was all during that kind of bittersweet time of me not having my name. So personally, I had this kind of weirdness about it, but I think the film itself did really well and got panned really badly by a lot of reviewers just because it was Shusha and it was, knocking off Labyrinth or whatever they wanted to say. That it was really infantile. Of course, it's infantile. We made it to appeal to 3 to 5 year olds, and anybody else can join in if they want,
So yeah, massive hit in Brazil, huge hit. It was also a big hit in Latin America in general?
It did very well in Argentina, where she had a TV show as well. So I don't know exactly the box office records, but it was really, really successful in Argentina. It did well throughout Latin America. And in the US, it was never dubbed into English. People don't like to see films dubbed into English, and kids would not read subtitles. So it really never was released in the US at all.
So it's been a long time since its release, obviously. But in 2018, it was the 30-year anniversary of the film. And the huge fan base, the XUXA fans, organized a big screening for the film.
That they look at this film now and recognize that some of their worldviews were formed starting with this film. And I'm going, that's very cool. That's kind of what we were hoping, so getting that feedback 30 years later from the adults that were confirming that feels like, good job. Good job. You did well.
I can totally see this being like a cult film.
Yeah, well, it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because at the end, sort of after we finished the main interview, we talked a bit about that, because he was really surprised to hear from someone who's not from Latin America that knows and likes this film. And we were kind of saying, like, maybe, he mentioned, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show and the idea of, like, this being kind of, like, something you could see at a cinema and, like, dress up for. I think it would be great. Because it's such a wild sort of film. And
the songs are so relentless.
Yeah. Like, so you could join in on the songs.
Every few minutes there's another song.
Absolutely, yeah. Also, just speaking to David, he was, like, such a nice guy. So interesting to speak to. He's had such an interesting career. So I really do hope he continues to share this movie. And I hope that this can get out to more people outside of Brazil, where it's already a huge hit, because he is such a creative and an interesting man.
I don't know if you have the answer to this, but I mean, this was a big scale production, and the amount of puppets and set pieces they would have had to make would have been huge. It would have cost a huge amount of money. And I was wondering if you knew where the puppets were now, or whatever happened to them.
You know what? I didn't ask him that.
I wonder if, like, the dolphin is floating around somewhere,
They just set it off into the ocean.
Because the amount of characters and puppets they made for this was astronomical. It was massive.
I wonder if, like, some XUXA fans, like, own all the puppets. Like, they've bought them up at auction or something like that. This is, like... So I've now watched this film maybe 3 or 4 times, and every time I watch it, I notice, like, a new sort of strange or interesting thing about it. And I do love, like, the mixture of the sort of kid-friendly stuff and then that extremely dark stuff, and the very adult layers to it as well.
Yeah. I think you have to be in a very particular mood to watch this. But I think, as you said, like, this is really popular in Brazil. I think someone from Brazil could, in theory, just throw this on anytime, have the time of their lives. For me, being from outside Brazil, I had to be in a very particular mood to watch this. And I think you also would benefit more from this movie knowing about Brazilian music and culture, because the pop music in this movie, I mean, as you said, XUXA is insanely famous. It sold millions of records. Her music is so different to what a popular pop music would be from England or America that would, like, make the charts that I'm used to. So it was very different. Even though, like I said, she has a kind of a Britney Spears-like aura about her, the music is not comparable whatsoever. So there were times I was just like, oh my god, like, this song is insane. It's fucking nuts. But for maybe a Brazilian person, it might just be a bog standard pop song. I don't know. But it was interesting. Yeah, looking in from someone outside of Brazil.
I really recommend as well for you and anyone listening, like, after watching this film, and I think it can be found on YouTube pretty easily. It's on XUXA's official channel, I think, without subtitles, but there is a version with subtitles. But yeah, after watching this, just, like, look up clips from her TV shows, because it's crazy. Like, not what we're used to seeing on like a kids
Right.
TV show. It's really mad. It's like, imagine the energy of this film, but like really distilled down into like a shorter TV show format. It's pretty crazy stuff. Okay, how about the wrongometer for this film?
This is tough.
How wrong the film is, how much it shouldn't exist, how bizarre it is.
I have to go pretty high. I think it's going to be pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, granted, this is the first kids film we've ever covered on this podcast, but with everything involved, the insanely famous person, the horrendous themes of war and poverty littered throughout the songs themselves, at least for me.
Yeah.
The set pieces, that fucking dolphin, my goodness. And the the griminess of it all. It's a lot to unravel. But like you said, it feels like a fever dream. The fact that she is so famous as well, which, I don't know, I had a feeling she was, you know, somewhat of a well-known singer, just by the way she's portrayed here, but I did not expect her to be of that level. I think I'm going to go 8.
You know what? I was thinking the same thing for the same reasons as you. This film triggers me more than many other, like, way more kind of fucked up sort of films, right? Even though it is a kid's film, it makes I kind of reacted to it a lot more than a lot of other stuff.
I just can't imagine being a kid and seeing this, because it would be scary. Legitimately scary. But I wonder as well, like, being a kid that's easily influenced, they would see this and take the route of like an activist or something, be more like, you know, inclined to help the environment or something, and you know, anti-war protests, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it could for sure, because it has an impact on us as adults watching it, not being from Brazil. So yeah, it could well have that effect on kids.
If you don't help the environment, you end up in the down mood.
Yeah, getting your eyeballs sold on the black market.
Ooh. But at least there's Coca-Cola.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is Super XUXA. So thank you very much to David for allowing us to talk to him for this episode. All right. So what have we got next time?
Next time, you're really going to hate me, Dave. I think up until this point, your most hated film that I brought to this was The Worm Eaters.
Yes.
For different reasons, though. It's not as disgusting as that by any means, but you're gonna hate this film. Well, and it is. Next time we will be doing Zombie 8 Urban Decay.
Zombie 8?
8.
Like the number?
Like Roman numerals.
Roman numerals.
Yeah.
So Zombie V111?
That's the one.
Zombie VIII?
Yep. If you want. Yep. Urban Decay. Yeah. Sorry.
I am looking forward to it.
Don't.
No, okay. I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I also, before we wrap up as well, I wanted to give a thanks to Clint from 84 Ounce to Freedom podcast. And he gave us a shout out on his podcast. So
nice.
Thanks, Clint.
Thanks, Clint.
And also, as per usual, please give us a review on iTunes. Oh. If that's a thing.
Is it?
I think it is.
It's iTunes.
And give us a rating on Spotify. That's a thing.
Okay.
That's definitely a thing. And follow us on X.
Sure.
Formerly known as Twitter. I love every article about X. It's like X, formerly known as Twitter. It's just always going to be attached to Twitter, isn't it?
The URL is still twitter.com, right?
I think maybe there's both. Maybe it just automatically sends you there if it's Twitter. God, fucking stupid
cunt.
Moron. Yeah, so follow us on there until we find something better. And you can send us an email too at showmesomethingwrong@gmail.com.
Hey.
But until next time, I don't know.
Well, say something like environmentally friendly.
Until next time, remember that what that dolphin bracelet tells you?
No violence.
No violence, kids.
Yeah.